What a day for the crypto market. Bitcoin is currently making new all-time highs. It's officially in price discovery. I think it wicked up almost to $80,000 this morning, which is absolutely incredible. It's now a clean breakout after we were basically consolidating for 8 months within this range, as you can see here. And as a result, many altcoins are absolutely exploding today. Some of our favorite alts that I've spoken about on the show in recent times are up as much as 50% today, like Foxy, which is absolutely insane. Doge, which is a trade that I've been very vocal about, is up 50% this week. Radium's another one that I discussed last week, if you remember that. That is now up 60%. Pepe up 35%. The market is going absolutely insane, so we need to talk about what is happening right now in crypto, what am I currently doing with my crypto portfolio, and what I anticipate is going to happen over the next few months. So if you do enjoy this content where I give you the early crypto alpha and I help guide you through these crazy times, make sure you are subscribed by clicking that subscribe button down below and hitting that post notification bell. I can say with confidence, all the viewers that have been watching the shows for the past few months, you guys are in a really good position. A lot of the coins we've been speaking about, like even GOAT, for example, are the leaders in the market right now. And that is because I am really picky with the types of narratives that I invest in this market. I love investing in the narratives with relative strength. I love investing in trends with mindshare. This is an attention economy. The sooner you realize, especially now that we are going into this next part of the cycle, that crypto operates in terms of price purely on attention, the better you're going to become as an investor, because then you can start to anticipate where attention is going to flow. And that is the way that I basically structure my thinking around fundamental analysis in the market. And then, of course, within select narratives, you can do all sorts of research into the fundamentals of coins. You can move down the risk curve. We're going to discuss today about moving down the risk curve and how you can actually navigate that and a lot more. So strap in. It's going to be a great video. It's been a great day on the market. I just want to also say congratulations to everyone that has stuck through not only this year, but also like FTX 2022, 2023. I was there tweeting pretty much every single day, making videos every single day. At that point, it was over on Crypto Banter, even during the midst of a bear market. And for us to be able to celebrate new Bitcoin all-time highs now, and now the possibility of a much, much more explosive move, it's honestly amazing. And I want to say shout out to all my community members that have been watching, supporting, following my content throughout that period. This pump is for you, but the exciting part is retail largely is not back yet, and this move is likely to keep getting bigger, but we will discuss how I think that's going to happen slightly later in today's video. So quick update on the Bitcoin front. Bitcoin is in price discovery. That's pretty much all you need to know, but I do want to make a comment on Bitcoin specifically, and this is also the same for altcoins. We were in an 8-month consolidation range where we were basically just chopping between 55K and 70K. Do you really think after an accumulation range of 8 months in a very tight range that we're just going to go to 100K and call it quits? I don't think so. I think after an extended range of consolidation, after an extended period of price suppression, the move is going to be a lot more explosive. So, we may just go to 100K and top there this cycle, but I just don't think that's probabilistic given how much accumulation has actually taken place. So you can see the 100K target on my screen. Funnily enough, Bitcoin now to 100K is only 26% away. I mean, I'm going to show you some of the data later when it comes to economic stimulus, when it comes to the rate cuts, when it comes to the current macro situation. But there are so many factors here that I think are going to hold global markets in good stead to perform well heading into 2025. Bitcoin as a liquidity sponge is a major beneficiary of this. We're already seeing this with the inflows. Do you really think 100K is going to be the top? I think we should actually raise our targets here on Bitcoin. We've been consolidating for so long. If you actually look at the last consolidation period to the breakout, that took us up 89%, right? An 89% move from the top of the break here would take us to 130K. That is roughly more in line with my Bitcoin price target for this cycle, but I think things are really going to accelerate, and you need to be prepped for that now. And hopefully we've been prepping over the last 8 months. I've been talking about accumulating alts on major dips for the last 8 months and really good alts that are now performing really well. But if you aren't prepared and you don't feel like you're still prepared, definitely watch this video, because we are now going, well, we're already in, but we're going to be entering that accelerated part of the cycle where things get really crazy and it becomes really hard to focus. I do like this Bitcoin monthly chart here with consolidation above the previous yearly high in 2021 for 8 months straight, 8 candle closes above, and then you just have a blast through all-time highs. Like, how is it physically possible to be bearish on Bitcoin looking at this chart? This is textbook bullish accumulation followed by bullish expansion. Like, it really is that simple. And I think for a lot of you, because of how explosive this expansion could be over the next 6 to 12 months, a lot of your biggest mistakes are going to be driven by the PTSD a lot of you might feel from 2021. I think a lot of people's biggest mistake is actually going to be selling too early, because this market, I think, is going to be even crazier than a lot of people think. Now, that's not saying don't take profits on the way up. I'll take profits. I might even take some profits today. I'm up on a lot of coins today. Why not? Replenish stables. Give yourself some dry powder to buy back in on dips. Makes sense. But in terms of the macro performance of crypto this cycle, I think it would be wise to raise your targets, not have unrealistic targets. Of course, ladder out as price goes up. But at least reframe your thinking around how crazy things can get, because we are seeing unprecedented stimulus. We are seeing an unprecedented macro situation, and we're specifically for crypto, seeing an unprecedented situation where you have the ETF demand significantly outpacing the new supply of Bitcoin, which is obviously also been contributed to by the fact that obviously we had the Bitcoin halving and now the issuance of Bitcoin is halved. So the dynamic right now is really set up, in my opinion, for macro expansion. It has been set up the whole year. It's just we had to go through a few bumps along the way. The election bump, the Mt. Gox forced selling bump, the Silk Road, like US government sees Bitcoin bump, all those bumps were suppressing Bitcoin's price. And then now you kind of have the stars aligning. That is the best way to describe the current market right now. You have a plethora of macro factors that are now aligning with the Trump victory and are also aligning with the technicals. And that's why now we're getting a big breakout. And because of that, I am locking in. Like, I literally do not want to leave my desk for the next few months, at least until Christmas. I'm really locking in. So I actually, I went to the CC campus event in Dubai yesterday. It was great. Met a bunch of content creators there. I actually got dinner with Kyle, Jason, and Michael here, Pizzino, who are all great guys. It was great to hang out with them. Saw around as well. Got to see a bunch of other crypto guys like Ansem. So it was really good. But I didn't go to day 2 today. I decided to stay home and make content and manage my portfolio because there is so much happening right now. It's been one of my best days P&L wise in a long time. So I'm having to limit my euphoria. You should have seen me this morning. I was kind of going crazy. I had to take some deep breaths before the show so I could deliver really measured content for you guys. But it's been a crazy 24 hours, and it just gives you a taste. Like, when the bull market comes back in, when this sentiment comes back to the market, it really reminds you of that feeling of not being able to focus while simultaneously having physically too much to do. So that is going to be something you're going to have to manage over the next 6 months. How do you actually manage your emotions throughout this period to not get too FOMO-y, to not make rash decisions? Like, I'm very ADHD. Like, I have to really try hard, in this market to not make rash decisions in terms of, buying too much when things are pumping and rotating my bags too much and actually sticking, to the coins that I'm positioned in because I position in them for a reason. So this is like a new market to navigate, but I'm going to need all the help time-wise that I can get to navigate this market. And that's why I'm not going to events. I'm not going to DevCon next week. I know a lot of people are going to Bangkok. I'm locked into the market because the amount of trading opportunities right now are crazy. We're in what I think is a popcorn market. I'll give you an example. Like, you see Drift yesterday. Absolutely insane. I texted Geordie Alexander because I know he was a fan and I think an investor of Drift. You guys probably know him. He hosts the Steady Lads podcast and I've had him on the channel many times. I texted him when Drift was I think 50 cents or 40 cents 3 days ago. I was like, hey, Geordie, what do you think of Drift? Because I noticed DeFi was picking up with Trump winning, and Solana DeFi is kind of a perfect marriage, right? Solana, the hottest L1, and then DeFi, the hottest narrative combined. Bang, Solana DeFi is going to pump. So I was thinking, okay, let me start to buy. I already started buying Radium, which I had just told you about in last week's show. Those bags are already up almost double now, 60% on week. And I was like, okay, let me diversify into maybe protocols like Drift. literally, before he could even reply, I think he texted me a reply saying, hey, I'm going to meet the team tomorrow. So I was just, chilling to see if there was any alpha there. The second I woke up the next morning after sending that message, Drift had already pumped to $2. So it had popped from 0.5 to $2. And it just reminded me that this is the market where things are going to pop. It's a popcorn market. You're going to see alts breaking out left, right, and center. Alts you're researching are going to run away from you quicker than you could research, like the case of Drift. Now, my thinking was right. My narrative brain was right. Solana, the hottest L1, Trump winning equals great regulatory environment for DeFi. Solana DeFi makes a whole lot of sense for Solana DeFi to pump. But I missed this one specifically. I was lucky to catch Radium and a bit of Jupiter, but Drift specifically I missed because I took too long. Now, that's not for me to say, like, just FOMO into everything because you don't have time. It's just to research because you still should do DD. But it's just a reminder that we're in a popcorn market. And what you're likely to see over the next few weeks and months, and this will only get worse as the bull market continues to accelerate, are a lot of narratives that pop really, really, really quickly. So if there is a coin that's on your watch list that you want to buy, you really need to have your plans solidified, and you really have to make sure you're thinking quite prudently and diligently about what the next rotation is going to be. Because in this market, because the narratives are moving so quick, as soon as a trend takes off, what's going to happen is things are going to reprice really high. Like Foxy, for example, that's up 50% today, which is absolutely insane, right? And I've been speaking about Foxy for quite some time as being the best linear proxy. You had your time to accumulate. The thesis remains the exact same. And then in one day, the price now reflects that thesis. So it's also a bit of alpha for you guys. If you have a thesis on a coin, right, and the price hasn't moved, it doesn't mean that your thesis is wrong. It just means the market hasn't caught up yet. And when it does catch up, that pump is going to happen quite quickly. So I just wanted to remind you that we are in a popcorn market right now. Let's just speak about Foxy quickly. Firstly, I want to say congrats to everyone that was accumulating during this cup and handle. That's something I spoke about specifically. I spoke about on the show's Twitter and Discord. I've spoken about Foxy a lot in the Discord, and this one finally popped today. But I do think, I'm having a few people asking me, like, Mars, is it too late for Foxy? Obviously, in terms of how you execute a trade, that's up to you. But from a pure market cap perspective, mostly talking about spot here, I don't think it's too late. I mean, it's the leading linear proxy. It's the leading Fox meme. It's obviously got that MetaMask link being like publicly supported by consensus, being a Fox, right? It's got that MetaMask meme power behind it. Also, Linear is one of the default chains actually available on MetaMask when retail creates and boots up a wallet, which is another catalyst here for Foxy. Also, a major factor is Foxy has OKX and Bybit. How many other memes can you think of have OKX and Bybit? Pretty much the two biggest exchanges after Binance. Coinbase is big, but it's not even as big in terms of memes, right? Just based on volume. I can't think of many at all. And you're getting that package at a 40 mil market cap. So, okay, I did talk about it last week in the Discord at 20 mil, and I spoke about it at 15 mil, but even 40 mil is not bad at all. Like, I can see this at 1 to 200 plus in the lead up to the Linear airdrop. And I am hearing murmurs of the Linear airdrop being announced very, very soon. Obviously, Linear is speaking at DevCon next week, so that is something to keep your eye on. So, just to, answer the question of, is Foxy too late? I don't think it's too late, but obviously, those that were able to action this trade, and I've been speaking about it for quite some time, you guys are up really, really nicely now, and you're obviously in a very strong position. You can take some profits if you're up significantly, but I am holding the majority of my Foxy because I do think now that we've smashed through range low, range high is the next logical target at 21, and then obviously price discovery comes after that. So I don't think it's too late specifically on that side. And in the Discord, like I'm just showing you here in the right-hand side, I've talked about Foxy so much. I highlighted Foxy at 7 cents when it bounced off the lows, the breakout at 9 cents. Recently, I talked a lot about this cup and handle at 9 cents in the Discord. I gave you a chart update saying it needs to bounce there. And despite having that shakeout on election day, that's exactly what happened. The cup and handle played out. So you have this cup, you have the handle, a little deviation below to fake out people that were using too much leverage, and then you have your expansion. So that exact setup from the Discord ended up playing out, which is absolutely amazing. And I mean, over the last 24 hours, have the Discord members absolutely printed. Like, I'm seeing crazy stuff flying around, like absolutely crazy profits flying around this Discord. It's been amazing to see the community, like all the work we put in for the last 6 months, in a day, the culmination of all of that. And I think this is just the beginning. I think there are just so many trading opportunities right now. There's so much alpha flying around. We just hired a new trader in the Discord who is coming on board to help support, because one thing I want to do is continue to expand it with amazing talent, because there's just so much demand right now. And I really did like this message from someone in the Discord. They said, I love the fact that when you ask any question in this Discord, there is always someone around to answer it. And most of the answers are so helpful. The team are really generous with their time. Nothing else quite like this in my experience so far. Only been in the group a month and made a ton of money. Paid my yearly subscription already. Easily been the best thing I did since starting out in crypto 7 years ago. Huge thank you. I want to say thank you so much for that message. That means a lot. We put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into the Mars High Club. But the amazing thing here is just to see like the fruits of our labor finally come to fruition. And look, if you can hit one good trade and pay a yearly subscription, I mean, no matter what the cost of the Discord is, it makes it worth it, right? Especially in this market when there are just so many opportunities in the market. Like, for example, tomorrow in the Discord, or probably actually tonight, by the time this video is live, I'm going to be posting an AI low to mid cap that I've been researching and recently took a big 6-figure position in. I'm going to be sharing that in the Discord because it's one that I think can perform really, really well. And all Discord members in my alpha channel get first dibs on the early alpha. So posting new alpha all the time. All the early opportunities that come across my desk, I post in the Discord first for Mars High Club members. So if you do want to come and be a part of that community, there's a link in the description below. Click the link, sign up. You're going to get instant access straight in, and you can start taking advantage of all the alpha in that group. So for the rest of this show, I want to do things like this. Firstly, I want to show you the macro setup for crypto right now. So let's discuss the current factors that are at play affecting the crypto market. Then I want to talk about where we are in the cycle. I have some new data that I want to show you that indicates that this cycle is actually not very different from the previous 2 cycles. And in fact, there's a big move that is about to happen next, which is currently exactly playing out. I want to talk about alt season as well. Is it too long? Is it too late to long altcoins this point? Like, what should your strategy be? I'll talk about what I'm personally doing and the narratives that I'm looking at. Next week's also going to be a big week for content. I'm going to be uploading daily, and there's going to be a lot of specific deep dives. So tomorrow, I won't tell you what sector, but I'm deep diving a little bit into one specific narrative. Then on Tuesday, I have Doc coming on, who's one of our head traders in the Discord, for a little bit of a different technical opinion on the market to help those that want a little bit of a bearing of where we are and what kind of prices we could be targeting. I haven't thought about Wednesday's content yet, but I'm sure it's also going to be banging. So putting a lot of work into daily uploads right now, because now's the time to grind. Now's the time to invest your time into the market. That is why I'm not going to DevCon or all these conferences. I need to be locked in. I need to be creating content for you guys. And I personally need to be trading because the risk reward right now of being locked in is just so high. So if you have like university or something and you can defer, like I think now's the time to defer. Obviously, if you have a full-time job, it's a little bit more tricky, but those that are full-time crypto, I'm sure, like me, are just really locked in and focused right now. So firstly, in light of that, let's talk about the macro setup very quickly to recap some of the discussion that we had in the last show on Friday. Obviously, Trump won the election. From a regulatory perspective, that is very positive for crypto. The fact you have a Republican Senate, a Republican House, means that crypto legislation is going to be easier to pass. And look, although there's no guarantees here, I have more faith that they're going to pass the necessary legislation versus potentially what we would have gotten from the Democrats. The other thing to keep in mind is that the Fed are cutting rates. You can see here the market expectations for the Fed funds rate, which is really interesting. So basically, it's predicting we'll be at 4.4 by the end of the year, and they're going to cut throughout the entirety of 2025 down to 3.74. So we're about to see the rate almost go down 1% from current levels, which is absolutely insane because you're having the global liquidity increasing, the Fed stimulating the economy via rate cuts in line with a massive high time frame Bitcoin and stock breakout under a Trump government. I've just got to ask you, have you seen the stars align like this in a while? I personally have not. It feels like the closest thing to the stars aligning since 2021. Now, I think that bull run will still be the biggest in terms of percentage gains. I think dollar gains, this cycle will be bigger because there's just more money with the ETFs now going into Bitcoin. We're seeing that with Bitcoin at all-time highs. I think percentage-wise, 2021 was unprecedented. I'm just being realistic. I always want to keep it 100 with you guys because of the fact that the space was much more unregulated in 2021, because of the fact that people didn't know how to play these alt cycles and it was all very new, and because everyone was at home getting stimulus checks. I think alts percentage-wise ran more in 2021 than they will this cycle. But the thing this cycle that is new is the fact that we have more dollar-wise liquidity coming into the market. Although alts are at higher valuations than their floors in 2021, I think there is more liquidity coming in, which can mean alts do perform really well. But there's also more dilution, which is why I think the altcoin index, the dollar value, is going to probably increase more proportionately to the percentage increase that you're going to see across altcoins. Because last cycle you could hit 100x's, maybe this cycle, you'll hit 10 to 20x's. That's like the law of diminishing returns. But there's so many gains to be had, I think, still to come this cycle. And I think the Fed cutting rates only underpins that. So overall, I'll get into altcoins in a minute and I'll show you the charts and my thinking behind it. I think alts haven't really done anything yet, to be honest. I think they're about to move a lot harder than what they currently have. But it's important to also realize that it's going to be a different kind of bull versus 2021, where all alts went up all at once. They kind of just all repriced really aggressively. I think we're already seeing this is the bull market of narratives. This is the bull market where asset and narrative selection has a massive premium attached. You need to be in the right coins. Obviously, if you're subscribed to this channel, I do my best to point you in that direction. I think compared to most channels, we're pretty spot on in terms of narrative, and that's because myself and the researchers that help me with these videos, we're really clued in. Like, I'm spending 12 to 15 hours a day on the charts in the market, especially right now, so I've got a very good feel for rotations. Sometimes I have so good of a feel, like with the Solana DeFi thing, that my brain will think of the next rotation before I'm physically able to buy something, which is a frustration of mine, but hopefully if I'm able to verbalize it, you guys can benefit from that as well. And look, that's where my real strength is. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not the best TA guy in the world. I'm not the most amazing technical trader, but what I do have is a real finger on the pulse when it comes to narratives, when it comes to rotations, when it comes to fundamental analysis, and I go really deep into it. So for example, recently I've been researching a lot of AI projects. I've found a couple protocols which I think are undervalued. They're lower to mid-cap tokens that I think are going to perform really well and are going to be a beneficiary of people moving down the risk curve. One I'm going to share in my Discord tonight. I'll probably talk about them in the YouTube at some point in the future, but that's the kind of stuff I'm doing at the moment. I'm also going really deep into RWA. I recently, said that I was rotating out of Ondo and Mantra into C-Pool and checks. Well, those trades, are up a 4x whilst Ondo and Mantra have been flat. So, if you made like a 5x on my initial Ondo call and then you're able to 4x on the rotation, then you've basically made a 20x. So those compounding gains that you get through smart and shrewd narrative positioning, that's where you can make a lot of money in crypto. And that is my strength at the end of the day, not TA. But I do use TA and these tools to help me with risk management. I think fundamental analysis for finding which coins you want to buy and then using TA for risk management and execution on buying and selling is the best combo in the market. You can also see global liquidity. Global liquidity is on the rise. And you can see that Hong Kong, Peru, Saudi Arabia, they are all cutting rates alongside pretty much every single country. Like you can see Thailand, Sweden, Denmark, Switzerland, a lot of countries are reducing their fiscal policy, cutting rates in line with stimulating their economies. So we are seeing this mass global stimulation, which in the short term is probably going to be good for Bitcoin, good for stocks, etc. Maybe longer term it creates additional inflation, which will need to be combated. But I think that roughly aligns with a lot of our thinking that, look, 2025, it's probably going to be a great year. It's going to be the year of rate cuts. It's going to be the year of Bitcoin, the year of risk on. And then towards the end of the year, potentially we do start to see that weakness set in as we are now dealing with another predicament regarding inflation and the potential to hike rates. Obviously, right now, people are assuming that through 2026, based on the expectation that rates continue to remain flat. But obviously, that will change over time, depending on what inflation does, depending on economic growth. That very well may change. They very well may keep cutting rates into 2026, and then we see a scenario where just risk assets go absolutely parabolic and we're at a 200k Bitcoin. Obviously, that is your bull case, but I like to be a little bit more measured than that here on the channel and give my honest opinion. And if you ask me, like, Mars, what do you think your Bitcoin target is? I'm not a 250k moon boy, but I'd say 120k based on just the rough technicals that I showed you earlier. That's a decent level to target. Anything above that's going to be a plus. I just want to tell you guys, by the way, like, even if Bitcoin just goes to 120, like, what do you think is going to happen to alts? Alts are literally, I mean, the total altcoin index is probably going to 2 to 3x. So in terms of gains in the altcoin market, we really haven't seen anything yet. It's mostly been Bitcoin's time to shine. Dominance has mostly been the dominant chart in the market, not the altcoin chart. If you look at the altcoin season index, we're still not there yet. We haven't even crossed the halfway mark. So I think there's still a lot of upside to be had on altcoins this cycle. I really, really do. And I think people, as I said before, need to raise their targets because they're underestimating what could potentially happen here on alts, which honestly has me extremely excited because it's really what we've been waiting for. We've been waiting for this macro setup for a long, long time. And I think we're finally now starting to get it. And the Trump presidency was the last thing that we really needed to solidify that for crypto specifically, pertaining to regulation and that side of things. Zahir also highlights, this is another bullish factor, the stablecoin supply, which is increasing. That is an indicator of demand coming in for crypto. Bitcoin also has this narrative which hasn't taken off yet, but at some point is likely to rear its head of being the strategic reserve asset of the US potentially, or being a strategic reserve asset of other sovereign nations around the world. That is definitely a factor which could be very, very bullish for Bitcoin, and you will probably start to see speculation on that front ramping up, especially as countries continue to deal, with rampant inflation, etc. The real dynamic right now, which I mentioned earlier, that I think is propelling Bitcoin higher and is likely going to push it to 100k and beyond, is the fact that you have the spot ETF now opening up this entire new segment of the market that can now buy into Bitcoin, but you have the limited supply. We've had the Bitcoin halving, the new issuance is halved, exchange balances are at all-time lows, and you have demand for Bitcoin at all-time highs. You're also seeing on-chain demand come back, so it's not just the ETF demand via TradFi, it's also the on-chain demand for Bitcoin, the demand for Bitcoin and centralized exchanges. So economics is all about supply and demand, right? And it's this simple. Bitcoin is a scarce asset and you have rapidly increasing demand, and you only need to look at the Bitcoin ETF flows to get a gauge on just how rapidly the demand is increasing. I think we had $2 billion over the past few days flow into the Bitcoin spot ETFs, which is absolutely insane. So now let's discuss briefly where we are in the cycle, and then let's get into how I'm personally playing it right now. You can see that we are now in phase 3 of the market. On this chart, there's 3 phases. I actually think the market is 4 phases. So you have your downwards phase, your accumulation phase, your breakout phase, which I think is phase 3, which we have now entered. And then you have phase 4, which is your parabolic phase. And your parabolic phase typically doesn't come to the very end of the run. So this part here, this part here, this part here, and it's going to be this part here, maybe at some point next year. And that's where you get 80% of the gains, especially on altcoins, in the last 20% time-wise of the rally. So we are past the halfway mark. We're just past the halfway mark. We might even be in the 60% mark, depending on what your outlook is on Bitcoin. But one thing is for certain, we are now entering that acceleratory phase, which can be quite insane and quite intense. So it's important to maintain a level head and continue to trade with a lot of diligence right now. I said before I was going to show you a chart which indicates where Bitcoin is sitting relative to previous cycles. And what I find really, really crazy about the price action this cycle is just how similar it is to previous cycles. And this pretty much hasn't deviated the entire cycle, especially 2016. This cycle is really, really closely following 2016. So this is where we are, right? It's where the purple line here, the bright purple, the darker purple/red is 2020. You can see that we are now at the expansion point, the inflection point that took the 2020 and the 2012 cycles much, much higher. 2016, we continued an uptrend, but it was a little bit slower, and then you hit that parabola right at the end. But no matter what you want to do, if you want to average the price performance of all of these and come out with the mean, you can see that the next phase of the market, the fourth quartile of the market, is the most aggressive expansionary phase of the market. And this is what we are now currently in based on the time from the Bitcoin halving. You can see 0 days from the halving. We basically have followed the price action exactly. All the cycles look very similar. And now we are sitting 320 days from the halving. And you can start to see how price reacts towards the end of that. So it's pretty crazy how closely we are mirroring other cycles, and there's nothing to suggest we are deviating away from an explosive bull cycle. That's exactly what we're getting. That's powerful when you consider the fact that compared to last cycle, and even compared to earlier this year in March, retail interest isn't really back. Now, let me say this. I think they're about to come back very soon, and the amount of views these videos are getting are going to be a decent gauger of that, right? If my videos start to get 100K views again, retail is probably back, but even now, with Bitcoin at all-time highs and alts starting to get on the move again, the Google trends, the YouTube views, the Twitter engagement, it still is down. Now, it's more than it was a month ago, absolutely, but it still is down compared to what it was, which is great because you still have that upside potential because a lot of this is crypto native pre-positioning for retail to come in and get significantly interested in the market. I have had a couple friends text me about crypto. They're getting interested again, but I haven't had the normies texting me about crypto like they were in March or like they were in 2021. If Bitcoin continues to behave like this and push towards 100K, you're going to see a lot more retail coming back into the market. And that is obviously a bullish thing, especially for alts, because what playgrounds are they going to play in when they come back? Probably not going to be Bitcoin. They're probably going to move down the risk curve. Obviously, Solana's like your first stopping point, but I think it's going to go way further than that. Meme coins, AI, these really hot buzzword type narratives that a lot of creators are shilling, that a lot of people and a lot of communities are building around. These are the types of narratives which I think are going to perform really, really well. And that's why my portfolio is, quite meme-centric, quite AI-centric, a little bit more, I guess, like right curve is the RWA and DeFi thesis, but I still think, due to the Larry Fink shills, that there's enough retail interest in those narratives to also drive them. So those are some of the trends I'm looking at. And obviously infra is going to do quite well. Leading infra though, not every infra, like not every L2 under the sun or L1 under the sun. So this still gives me confidence, right, that the best is yet to come. And then you also have Benjamin Cowan, who has been a huge proponent of the Bitcoin dominance increase and the Bitcoin dominance super cycle, so to speak. He is now saying that he expects dominance to cool and it's hit his target for the cycle. So he's saying, look, the Bitcoin part is mostly done. And although it may outperform for a few more weeks, he's thinking that dominance now starts to come down, which means that altcoins, by nature of that, would start to perform. So when Ben Cowan starts calling for an alt season, things are getting serious in the market. Now, it's not even altcoin season yet, but it is that initial reversal on Bitcoin dominance. Now, I would not be surprised, right, if Bitcoin dominance also has another leg up. What tends to happen is, in these cycles, you tend to have multiple rotations. So this is the first rotation of Bitcoin down into alts. Alts might outperform for the remainder of this week. Then what might happen is money concentrates back into Bitcoin as Bitcoin pushes up from, let's say, its leg from 80 to 90K. On the 80 to 90K leg, alts are going to stall, Bitcoin is going to run, and then alts are going to catch up. The only difference between this cycle and last cycle is because you have the Bitcoin ETF, the rotations aren't as direct, and you will see a lot of front running happening on the altcoin side as Bitcoin moves further to the upside. So just keep that in mind. Let's now discuss the total 3 chart, and let's get into what I am doing to wrap up this show here. As I mentioned before, I think total 3 is going a lot higher. The fund doesn't even start until you hit the tipping point, which is at 780. So the real breakout level is still not for another 11% away. Now, at this rate, we might be there in a couple of weeks, and then the real fun expansion happens. Just to give you an idea of what it looked like last cycle, when we broke that point, which was this level here at roughly 360, we ran up 200% on alts. So if you want to extrapolate that to this cycle, then you could say that, we're targeting a $2 trillion altcoin market cap. As I mentioned in the last video, we don't even need alts to hit 2 trillion for us to make a lot of money. At 1 trillion, if you're in the right trends, you're going to make a lot of money. Because look at this, we have barely moved. Altcoins are up 20% today, and you have some of our bags, like Foxy, up 50%. Not today, sorry, this week. Altcoins are up, let me get you the exact number, 22% this week. And in a day, you have Drift going up 200%. You have Foxy today going up 50%. You have Radium up 70%. You have Goat up 70% this week. Like, when alts do a 10 to 20% move, the best coins can double and outperform, right? And the trenches can cook with these lower cap memes especially. So that's why I say, look, we don't need to go to 2-3 trillion. All we really need is 1 trillion for our bags to perform really well, because we are in the outperformers. We're not holding all these kind of dead narratives. We're holding strong narratives, which are really reflexive to price, especially the altcoin index. So if you're in those type of trends, you're going to be in really good stead. But is it time to FOMO in now? Because you might be feeling the FOMO, right? What am I doing now? Well, Rand did this tweet today, and it actually authentically sums up where I'm at personally. He says, not buying, not selling, just riding. And this is true to an extent. I am not really pouring a lot of fresh capital into the market because I'm mostly allocated. I'm still sitting around 25% stables because that's the amount that I've defined at the beginning of the cycle that I wanted to hold throughout the whole cycle, because I need liquidity for trading. So if I find like a lower cap coin that I really like if I have 25% stables, I can go into that. I can, trade it. I can buy in, and then at some point I'll take profits on other coins to top my stables back up. So I'm not really looking on going any more aggressive than that. I'm really as all in as I need to be right now. But what I am focused on doing is just tweaking my portfolio, like condensing it. Some positions that, and I'm doing this today, I'm spending a few hours today here on a Sunday just condensing things. Some positions that are a little bit too big, I might trim, put them into some other coins and just balance things out, because when the market starts running, things start to get out of whack and certain narratives like memes might really overpower where you're comfortable. So for me, I'm really focusing on condensing things. If you're holding a bit of dead weight in your portfolio, you don't need to allocate new capital, but you can clean things up to actually optimize for the next run. So I'm similar to Rand here. I'm not feeling the real urge to FOMO in today and go like even more risk on, because we're up a lot and we have been accumulating on pretty much every major dip over the past few months. However, I do want to tell you that you are going to get dips, and I'm actually thinking one comes relatively soon. So I think if, gun to my head, I think we probably keep pushing up in the beginning of the week. And then I think midweek or maybe towards the end of the week, but I'm thinking right now like Tuesday, Wednesday, we do see a bit of a pullback. Now, pullbacks in this market are a gift. They're not a blessing. So I do think that they need to be taken advantage of. You're not guaranteed them, but I do think they're going to come because leverage has started to get a little bit aggressive, and it depends on what momentum looks like on Tuesday. Obviously, I'll update you then, but at some point midweek, we're probably going to be due for a bit of a leverage flush. That's why the pullbacks might be shallow and quick, but if you're able to catch them like wick buys, that's probably where I feel more comfortable with fresh positioning. But I think most of you are already pretty allocated, and for that reason, mostly what you're going to be looking at doing is condensing things and making sure you're in the right altcoins that you have conviction in. Because if you don't have conviction in an altcoin, it's going to be very hard to hold it this cycle through periods where it's underperforming, because not every coin is going to perform at once. Let me use Foxy as an example. It's been a really frustrating hold. I bought more at 7 cents. It's been frustrating. It's been chopping sideways. I could have easily rotated out of that into PopCat, right? Which is really hot. But as PopCat has now started to at least slow down, it's not decelerating, but it's not accelerating as fast. Foxy's up 50%, so it's made a catch up. That's just an example of I had the conviction in the narrative. I knew the linear narrative was strong. I knew at some point it was going to come back, so I could hold throughout that period. Even Sundog in recent days, right? Sundog's one of the best performers today. That's back up to 15 cents. That was at 10 cents the other day. I could have just sold my bag and rotated into something that was performing, but I had conviction in it because I knew it was going to come back at some point, and I held, and it came back. So I think with some coins, if you have a thesis, you need to stick by it. And that's why if you don't have a thesis on a coin, it's going to be harder to stick by it. So my number one advice to all of you is if you hold a coin, know its place in your portfolio, know why you're holding it, have a target for why you're holding it, and just have a thesis predefined. Because if you're buying coins where you don't have a thesis, if you're watching a creator that shills you a coin and you're just buying it because they shilled it, that's not good enough, because you're not going to have the necessary conviction to hold it through a dip, because the market does dip in bull runs. You're not going to have the conviction to hold it as other coins are outperforming, and you'll end up chopping yourself up. And although rotating this market can be genius if you make the right move, like I did with the RWA coins, that's a sparing rotation. If you're constantly rotating, you can really burn yourself And that's one of the major lessons that I learned last cycle. And I'm imparting this wisdom onto you as someone that, went through 2021, made a lot of money. I think at one point my portfolio was like $1 million. And then I round tripped that back down to like a few hundred K, And then this cycle I've been able to build it back up again because I've learned the principles that I really had to physically endure in 2021. And it was painful to lose money at times, but that was the best thing for me because this cycle I've been hitting portfolio all-time highs, even September, October, just when the market started to pick up because I was in the right coins. Looking at the others chart as well, you can see that we have reclaimed, broken above the major resistance level, now support. I don't think you get a clean retest, but you very well may get this like step ladder price action of higher lows, pullbacks, and then you're going to like keep trending. Trending markets are not easy to trade because there is FOMO involved, but basically the motto or the modus operandus or operandi, however you say it, I don't know what the saying is, in a bull market is basically longing the leaders, the uptrending tokens on dips. So you're basically taking advantage of long continuation plays. I like this tweet here from Fabian. The window for speculative positioning before Trump's inauguration is open until mid-January, another 2 months, and Bitcoin is only still 3% above an 8-month range break with clear macro skies ahead. This is one of those rare free trades that come along once every couple of years. Don't overthink it. I agree. Basically, TLDR, the stars are aligning for something that we haven't seen in quite some time. So the narratives I'm looking at to recap, meme coins, definitely, especially the top memes on exchanges that have the path of least resistance, the ability for people to easily speculate. I don't think retail is going to come into the market and start going on the pump fund trenches. They may. I think a lot of them are going to gravitate towards the centralized memes, especially if you look down the risk curve. There are a few that have exchange listings that still haven't ran a lot yet. Like, SPX, I think that'll get big exchange listings. Let's actually check where it is right now. You've got other coins like WIF and Pepe, which I still think will perform well. It actually doesn't have many. Obviously, it's got Mexi, CoinW, but this should get more. These coins, I think, will do well. Scrolling down the list a bit, you've got things like Michi, if you want a bit more upside, because I know not all of you are looking at the Bill plus market cap memes, but memes are definitely something I am looking at. I might do a meme coin tier list video one day, because there are some lower caps and stuff that I'm playing as well. DeFi, I think, is going to be a strong performer. I think Rune, Athena, these coins are still coins that can go up. So I think on dips, those are ones that I'd be adding to my portfolio. Some of the Solana coins have run up a lot, so it would take a deep pullback for me to get interested. I did call Radium at like $2.50, so if you're already positioned in that, well done. But as for adding more, I would be waiting for dips. I mean, Pendle's one that I think could still do really well and is probably a solid hold for this cycle. Looking at the AI coins as well, there is one that two that I want to be accumulating over the next week or so that I'm going to share in my Discord tonight. So if you are in the Mars High Club, you'll get access to that in the Alpha channel. Link in the description below. I said here, have some amazing AI small to big caps I'll be sharing over the coming weeks. Been researching for months, but now is the right time after the Trump victory to move more down the risk curve. When I say move more down the risk curve, by the way, what I mean by that is a lot of these small to mid cap tokens, the rotationary tokens, haven't had their time to shine yet. I don't think it's going to happen straight away. I think it takes a matter of weeks, but when they do run, because of their market caps, they run really quickly. So remember in my portfolio video, I said I had like 80% reserved in like core portfolio assets and then 20%, which is more spray and pray. It's the spray and pray part of my portfolio where I'll add these lower cap meme coins, these lower cap AI coins. And that spray and pray part of the portfolio could actually be the part that makes me the most money this cycle, just due to the fact that since they're lower cap, they reprice much higher. You just need to manage risk and make sure your whole portfolio is not in low caps, because I keep it like 80-20, but depending on your risk tolerance and your goals, you may slightly tweak that just a little bit. So that's pretty much all for today. Tomorrow, I have some great alpha for you, so make sure you've got notifications on. And if you do want to ask me any questions and get access to the early alpha in the Mars High Club, there's a link in the description below. Come and join, because seriously, now is the time, because we're absolutely cooking over there, and I'm continuing to expand the group with new traders, analysts, and alpha all the time, products, features, everything rolling out constantly in that group to make it the best. I think it is the best, but in case that isn't proven yet, my goal is to make it the affirmative best group in the crypto world. So come be a part of the community. I'll see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching and supporting my content. Have a lovely rest of your day. Peace out.